I want to sell you right now. I know it's weird. I'm a sales rep, but I want to sell you right now.
Fantastic. This is super. This is really great, actually.
Don't try to sell them. Don't try to sell them.
This is golden. Cool. This is really good. Beautiful. Appreciate sharing that.
Well, that's interesting.
And I would love to dive into that more. How's your day going today?
Oh man, it's good and busy. Good and busy day.
We were keeping you guys for second season. Because we're going to be talking about appointment setting, and we're going to be going in detail on that outbound sales process. And I wanted to keep XANT for this season, so I appreciate you taking the time and joining me today.
No, I'm super excited. When you guys reached out to me, I thought it was just a perfect opportunity, a perfect time, especially in how the world was working right now, and how people are reacting differently since everybody is inside, right? There's no more outbound selling. I mean, outside selling, really. Everyone's an inside seller, no matter who you are.
Right. You're director of sales these days for XANT, and is it more an executive role where you lead the team and you plan the KPIs, but you do no sales kind of field work, or it's more like a field job where you work with top accounts, like high tier accounts most of the time?
Yeah, good question. I'm in the executive role, right? So I'm over a team of reps. We structure their day as such, and we roll it that way. So I have my team. I have at current state right now, I have 13 sales reps, and we run an inside motion, things of that nature.
Well, how does the sales structure look like for you guys? Do you have SDRs and AEs or SCs that are closing deals, or you have a kind of inside sales role where you 360 sales process, you prospect, you qualify, you do the demo, and then you move them to closing?
That's a fantastic question. So we do have a full funnel, revenue funnel approach to this, right? So we have our BDR SDR team, right? That rolls, sets the appointments for our reps. And so in our sales department, we have the enterprise team, and then we have what I'm over is the emerging enterprise team, right? And then from there, we hand it over to our retention, right? So we're building pipe, we're closing pipe, and we're retaining that pipeline. But the good news is look, we don't like to hang our hat on. We want to be able to control our destiny as much as we possibly can as an emerging enterprise team. So we can't always rely on those marketing leads, those inbound marketing leads that are coming through, right? And so when we sign up for a number, so my RVP and I sign up for a number, we want to make sure, like, look, we can't really make excuses. We just have to go plug away and try to hit those numbers with or without that inbound arm, right? And so it is icing on the cake because actually with my team, we do a power hour every single day, right? I don't want my reps to ever lose that muscle, if you will. And then secondly, we actually train our reps every single day at 11 o'clock for an hour, except for the last 2 days of the month. But we are training. So we have this really good motion, this really good atmosphere as far as the team is concerned. And that just coincides with the process that the reps do on a daily basis.
Talking about the appointment setting, about your BDRs and SDRs KPIs. So what is there any specific sort of like number of appointments that you need to book per month that to be successful?
Yes, there is, right? They have their agenda that's laid out before them every single month. They have their KPIs they're supposed to be hitting every single day that ramps up to the specific target appointments they're handing over to the emerging enterprise team as well as our enterprise team. So yeah, they have all that in place to make sure that's how they get paid, right? So
Right.
yes.
And are there any specific channels that they are allowed to leverage most of the time, or what is sort of like the approach of their work? I've met several teams that focus specifically on the ABM approach, right? Where you have, let's say, outreach as an engagement platform, you utilize email sequence that consists of emails, LinkedIn messages, calls, different tasks, right? But at the same time, I found there are some folks that focus on calling and then they just send emails as they're like supporting, right? Or those that focus on LinkedIn. Where you guys are right now?
It's a hybrid of everything, right? We tend to focus heavily on the calling aspect of things. We are very data driven organization, right? And what we found within our data is if our reps, now this goes for the SDR BDRs of the world, as well as my team that are doing their power hours as well, is the call is the most important. Now we can blanket as much as we possibly can with emails, but where the email tends to be successful is because we first called them, right? There was a call to action. They saw something physical. They knew they were going to get, a quick follow-up email or a LinkedIn, email, something along those lines saying, hey, this is who XANT is. This is who I am. This is why I'm calling. Oh, by the way, here's some content, right?
Right.
So that we really focus in on, because again, with XANT, we do have a sales automation platform that does the cadences, and we call them plays, right? Where we can really be very specific of who we're going after and what that message needs to look like as we go through that cadence, right? But what we wanted to make sure is that we didn't forget about the call, because the email aspect of things, to your point, is look, everybody's inside. And people are busy on Zoom and things like that. People tend to react better to an email, but we understand the reaction of the email is really important, but closing is, that's what the most important thing is. Like closing is on a call. So we always want to keep that behavior with the call, which has allowed our emails to have a better response rate to it, for sure.
Do you analyze the cadences that your clients are running with your software? Do you have like a data science team that does all of that thing? And if you do analyze that, and do you apply some of the data for your inside sales team as well?
Absolutely. Data, I hate to say I'm a data geek, but we're all kind of data geeks over here, because data, if it's not true data, the story that's being told is not a true story. Right. The great thing about what we're able to do, obviously, with our clientele and what we do internally with here at XANT, is everything 100% is being tracked back into that CRM. No questions asked. So it is empirical data. It's not being fudged or made up. Right. So, for example, if there was a cadence that was done by ABC organization, who's a client of ours, and they start seeing a lot of success with it, and it may be like a cadence could be, I'm going to start with a call, and I'm an automated email goes out. And then in that automated email, there's this, and then we're going to follow up with LinkedIn and so on and so forth. We'll analyze that. Like, man, yeah, it's in this market. They're reaching out to this type of clientele. It might be similar to us. So let's give it a try. Right. And so we're able to really use those best practices as we dissect that data behind the scenes. So when we go and implement a brand new client that might need some suggestions, like, hey, yeah, this client is similar to you, and this is what they've done to see success in their cadence. We can apply that same type of implementation if you want. And so it just makes everybody a little bit right. The ships rise with the tide, right? So we want to make sure it's an easy implementation. Not only is it an easy implementation, but we want to make sure, across the entire board, everybody's using it, right? We want to make sure that it's really high in that regard.
Yeah, so talking about kind of cadences and in general about kind of data science, a lot of people that are going to be listening to this and watching this on YouTube, they are in a bunch of different industries, right? Like some of them are running small businesses, mid-size, enterprise, and they're catering their services or products to different types of companies. Did you notice while running your analytics that specific channel works best for certain type of businesses or sizes of businesses? And let me give you an example to put this into perspective. When my team does any emailing campaign, we've noticed that if you start emailing to enterprise grade organizations, they have very sophisticated spam filters, right? So, and they probably are emailed like thousands of emails a day. So the chance that they respond to your emails with a sequence that consists of like 3 to 5 emails is very low. So we've noticed that if we hit them up on LinkedIn, and I think that they are using LinkedIn because of their corporate policy, I think, or something, right? Because they need to be respectable and be on LinkedIn and be visible, build the brand, so on and so forth. And usually people in corporations, they have very long lunch break, right? So they can spend some time, spending some time on LinkedIn, right? So especially on the C level role, the executive role, sorry. So the point that I'm making here, that we've transitioned to LinkedIn and we started booking calls with those enterprise companies on LinkedIn, whereas email wasn't that successful, right? At the same time, when we were talking about small to mid-sized companies, right? Those C-level or business owners, they don't usually spend their time on LinkedIn because they are talking with their clients, working, hustling, right? So email is their main channel for communicating with their clients, so you can always reach them on the email because they're cleaning their email address on a daily basis rigorously, right? So did you notice any insights like this working with your team and analyzing different channels that maybe some channels works better for certain industry or certain type of organizations?
Yes, the answer to that is it's yes. It's a broad yes, in my opinion, though. But what we have found, especially going in the enterprise side of things, and again, enterprise means so many different things to so many different organizations, right? Where a lot of times people are like, well, I'm an enterprise sales rep and I'm selling into, I don't know, 500 employee organizations, where other people are like, no, an enterprise space to me is 5,000 employees with billions of dollars of revenue coming in. So the answer to that is yes, but what we found is it's a little bit more persona based, if you will, right? So like when you're reaching into a persona that's in the enterprise space in the upper echelon, like to your point, yeah, they're busy most of the time. They're in meetings a lot of times because they're very specific of what their job title is. Where if you're going more in the SMB or mid-market, there's a lot of those personas that wear different hats, right? And so they're kind of always on the go, and they're always checking their LinkedIn, they're always checking their emails, so it's a little bit easier to get a hold of them that way, right? But what we realize is that if we wanted to go over after an enterprise account, it's not always a right idea to go, shoot for the top, right? Like maybe going for a CRO or a CFO probably isn't the right idea here. I might need to go into a little bit, probably a lower manager, because I can make my way up and I have to like map the organization that way. Where if I'm going to like an SMB, again, going back to wearing a lot of different hats, it may be easier to go up into somebody who's in the C level in an SMB because they're a little bit more apt to actually respond to you, right? So yeah, it was a little bit to your answer is yes. I know it's a long-winded answer, but it was really we've tried to focus and narrow it down to what type of personas are we going to go after in these certain segments, right? And it gets to go across for any type of leadership that's out there or any type of end user that's out there that are putting the wheel to grind here and trying to make it happen. That it is a lot of ABC testing, right? Messaging has to be there. Maybe it is at first LinkedIn, maybe it's an email after that, maybe it's that type of stuff. But what we've really found is that no matter who we're going after, in our data, we found that not a cadence doesn't necessarily always have to be like a 20-step cadence and a 2-month spread over 2 months, right? What we need to do is just hit them fast and hit them often, and then take a step back and let it breathe, and then come back and do the same type of thing. So what we found is like the slow drip. Hey, this is just so-and-so. I'm just reaching out. I'm going to follow up maybe from a week. That doesn't necessarily always work. It's, hey, let's hit them hard. Let's hit them fast, hit them often, and then take a step back and breathe, and then come after them again. And, use that type of cadence moving forward.
This is really great, actually. Most of the time when you read some best practices for cadence creation, people always say, hit them with like the first day and then the third day and then the fifth day and then the 10th and the 14th, and this is like slow burn. But what you're saying right now, and I actually agree with you here, that if you hit them hard within like short period of time and then giving them a break for some time and then do that again, that might work really well because you're just putting your name in front of them very often. You can find that perfect timing, right, where you can fit in that appointment that you're going to book for them, right? Does it take? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and the idea for us though is what we found, because we've been, XANT used to be InsideSales.com. So we've taken a lot of those same, obviously, best practices and data and all the research we've done, over those years, and we're still implementing and practicing those same things today. But what we have found is when we're going into these motions or building a cadence or a sequence or whatever you want to call it, right, is that we have the ability to be not trying to sell them all up front. I'm sure just with you and a lot of different leaders that are out there potentially listening to this podcast, I get a lot of emails every morning. I'm sure you do as well, with people trying to reach out to me and sell and all that fun stuff. And what I found is I do enjoy what I do because I get to talk to myself every day, if you will. My reps talk to sales leaders every single day, so we're talking to sales guys and we sell into that, and we love that. And what we hear every single day is like, man, I wish people talked to me this way, or I wish people reached out to me this way. So if that's the case, why don't we put that into practice? And so what we started doing on my sales team, and it goes back to BDRs and that's a department as well, is we're not trying to sell them all in the very first email. And there's a lot of people that fall into that, I guess, that motion, right? Hey, let's send them a novel, right? And then try to sell them, because then they're going to come back to me like, I'm going to get an appointment and my manager's going to love me. But none of, like, to your point, like, we hit them hard, hit them fast. We just let them know, hey, by the way, this is who I am. I'm a sales rep for XANT, right? I've put you in. We legitimately tell them we put you into a play, and it's going to last this long, so buckle up, right? So yeah, whether you like it or not, like, you're going to get these emails, right? You're going to get these calls, you're going to get these LinkedIn's, you're going to get these vidyards, or whatever type of video that you're using, right? So I'm not trying to sell you in the very first introduction. The very first couple are like, hey, this is who I am, get ready. And the next ones we're trying to warm them up to introduce them to playbooks and to XANT or whatever the case may be. And then we get a little bit more call to action after that. And it's funny, if I can tell you a quick story, if we have time, I'll make it quick.
Of course. One
of my sales reps came to me, and I had put together this play, and it was a prospecting play, a power hour play, right? And it was 14 steps over the period of, I think, 6 days or 7 days, something like that. And so anyway, I had just put it together. We implemented it. My reps were seeing a lot of success. Again, these are my AEs that were doing that. And really the call to actions, they really focused on the 4th, 5th, and 6th, 7th part of that player cadence. And my sales rep, we're at work, and he turned around and he said, he's like, hey, Scott, I got a question for you. Do you even know, like, the best task, or the best part of the play is, and when we get the most success? I'm like, actually, I don't. I haven't even looked at that research yet. He's like, well, let me tell you, for me, and they've been running this for about a week. He's like, it's in that 4th play. I mean, it's in the 4th step of the play. I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I pulled the report, and sure enough, 4th, 5th, and 6th, my reps were getting like an appointment or getting more interaction with the play that were happening, because the first 3 steps were, hey, this is who we are. I'm enrolling you to play. I'm going to show you the play, and then buckle up. And then we introduce, and then we ask for a call to action after that. So just to be able to play with that. And most people, especially nowadays, what I found in the last couple of months, people just want to be talked to. They don't want to be necessarily sold to, right? And so if we can talk and let them know why we're talking in the first place, and not have a novel first email like, hey, this is who we are, and we're going to increase this, and 10 minutes later I'm done with the email. That doesn't necessarily work anymore in 2020 or 2021, right? So that's been my approach since. Just let them know tell them why you're here, right? Hey, right. I don't want to sell you right now. I know it's weird. I'm a sales rep, but I don't want to sell you right now. But anyways.
This is golden, Scott. And you know what I hate the most in such emails is when the formatting is off. I really hate when people send a huge email like a novel without the proper formatting, right? Without the structure, and you just don't know where to start, where to stop, with a lot of like links, CDs, and all of that. I don't think that those emails works, to be honest with you, because no one engages with that, right?
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that back up. And I've always been the simplest, if you will, less is more, because the way, again, this is how I'm sold to and how I like to be interacted with is if I can't digest it, really quickly, I'm just going to delete it. Right. I'm like, hey, it's more than like 5 sentences. I'm like,
Right.
I got better things to
Yeah.
do. Right.
Yeah. When I work with my copywriting team, I always say that whenever you create an email or a sequence of emails, always make sure that one email has one CTA or one like value prop. You don't put like two value props or two CTAs saying that, hey, I've sent you an email with some links. Did you read them? What's your feedback? And by the way, here are more. And by the way, let's get on the call. And that's like, what I mean, which call to action should I follow here, right? So it doesn't make sense. So like putting like one value prop, one CTA. What do you want to get from that prospect, right? And to your point about creating value in your sequence, not just following up. I've really talked with several industry leaders, and I've tried to integrate that in my internal sales team. Whenever you follow up, either you follow up on a sale or you follow up to get a call booked, never send like the second, third, or fourth follow up being needy. Like, hey, I haven't heard from you. You didn't open my email. I want to really like kind of hear from you. Blah blah blah. Thank you, Michael, so on and so forth. Create some value, right? Like, why do they need to spend your time with them? So it's much better if you have a case study that is relevant to that industry or to that organization, where you can send and say, for example, we were catering to solar industry, right? And we have several really great case studies with solar projects, and we put one case study in the sequence. Say, hey John, you should find this interesting. This is the work that we did for Helios Energy. They're a solar provider out of Tennessee, right? We've increased their sales by 57%. Here's the link to the case study. You should find our approach interesting. So you pick their interest, right? Like, you name their competitor, maybe in different state, right, in their industry. You name that they are successful, and you told them like, hey, this is the approach that make you successful. Read about it. Everyone will gonna read about, right? Whenever you have an article about your competitor being successful, you go and you check it out, right? Say like, what did they do that we can do, right, to be also successful? That's the point. But it's much it works much better than just following up with another needy follow-up, saying that, hey, talk to me because I'm begging for a sale, right?
Right. And I love that, because I always tell, no matter who you are, really, if you want to, always trying to find an excuse to reach back out, right? But not an excuse of like, hey, I'm really needy, like you said. Oh, please, oh, please, will you, set an appointment, 15 minutes with me. Everything needs to have an impact answer to it, right? Like, this is, whether it's a case study and then we're increasing, watch this. Just that interaction of why I'm reaching out, and I'm going to continue to reach out if that's because I've done the research and this is why I'm reaching out to you. It's not like, hey, I just think I came across you at LinkedIn, or I think you'd be a good fit. No, like, tell them exactly why you're reaching out. Like, make it specific, right? We don't need to just talk in generalities at that point.
Do you have on top of your mind an email that you really like, that you received, like a cold email or a cold pitch that you liked and maybe you engaged with?
Yeah. So this was actually really interesting. This is super interesting. So we did some research. It was about a year ago, and we took, I think it was like 1,200 companies, and we did this, broad questionnaire. Like, we talked about cadences, we talked about, media, what type of media out there would elicit some sort of reply, right? Like that, we rank it that way, right? And what we found was, LinkedIn it was the top. It was like 25% out of, and then they went to like phone calls and then one-to-one videos, and emails were low. And then Twitter was around like 10 to 12% or something like that. So then we started thinking, we're like, hey, what if we take the video, those video automation emails of the world, and then implement it into our emails, right? And say, hey, let's take a video input it into an email, and then we could take the same video and then hit them up on LinkedIn, right? And so it was like, so if these were going to elicit some sort of reply, then let's make that happen, right? So we started tinkering with it, and we found massive success, right? Everyone was watching our videos and things of that nature, which was great because we started getting a lot of feedback. So it was funny. So we actually, it must have been a BDR if I remember, and this was a couple months ago. And since then, I get a lot more of these. But one of my sales reps had reached out to one of their leadership with with a video on an email, and then we hit them up on LinkedIn with a video and a voicemail on LinkedIn. So we're like, hey, we're covering all our bases right here. And so they did the same thing back to me. It was actually this girl. She hit me up and she made a video and sent me an email. And it was really quick. It was like 20 seconds long. I loved it. It was like, I can digest that. I don't have to sit there and take forever. And then she hit me up on LinkedIn, had the same video, and she hit a voicemail as well on LinkedIn as well. So I was like, I go, man, I had to respond to that, even though I didn't need what she was trying to sell at the time. But I'm like, I just have to give you props. You got a hold of me. You got my attention. You did your job. I gotta give you props on that. And so anything that has to be, especially nowadays, and yeah, I'm in the office today, but we're socially distanced, and we have to be, everything's with a mask on anyways. But like when I'm in a room, an office like this, or if I'm working from home, which I do a couple of days a week, the interaction with video, it tends to be better, because I don't know if people are more apt to hit play and listen in the comforts of their own home. Because I mean, here's the thing, back before COVID, if somebody was watching a video on the floor, people were like, okay, what video you're watching, you're not working, that type of thing. But this whole new age of how to try to get a hold of somebody, I think it's a little bit more comfortable. I can just click on a quick 20-second, 30 video in an email. And in the email, there's a quick bullet points of agenda or the case is, and that's how you introduce yourself. And I tend to respond to those a lot. I love that. I mean, I'm a sales leader, you're a sales leader, and I love when people follow a great process and do things that are unique to get my attention. And then I just turn around and go back to my sales reps and my BDRs and say, hey, this worked on me. You should try it, right? Let's try to put together a motion and A/B test that for sure.
But everyone needs to know when it's too much, right? For example, this sort of like automatic personalization where you get like an A standing with a card, or say, hey, Michael, I want to talk with you, and this is your company logo. And when you receive like once a while, like one of the thing, right? And then you say, oh, cool, I like this. Maybe they do that, or, like manual or something. So this is personalized, like what you mentioned with your BDRs recording, right? This is really great. This is a great deal of personalization, and everyone love that, because if you can spend your time, then you would appreciate their time, right? But when it gets automated and you receive like 10 of those, the same, right? Like different people doing the same with the same card, it's just such ridiculous, right? So you're losing your face. So, sometimes when you think, hey, I found this tool that can personalize the video, be sure that maybe your competitors found the same tool and they're using the same approach right now, and you will look stupid, right? Because everyone hates that. If you know that that you have been cheated, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, too much of a good thing is still too much, right? Really. So. Yeah, and I agree. Because like back in the day, like when people are like, hey, you don't need to call anymore, you can just email everything. And then people fell into that, hey, I'll just, blast emails all day. That's how I'm going to work. What we have found is that, when they say that cold calling is dead, well, actually cold calling is back in the game because too many people are sick of emails. So there's always the shifting the paradigm and things like that. And to your point, we have to be very aware when too much of a good thing is too much. Absolutely. Right. But it never hurts to try. It never hurts to think outside the box.
Yeah, absolutely. So top 5 things that you saw like a pattern for new BDRs, sales execs to fail or to do wrong. Whenever you're in onboarding a new inside sales rep or someone within your sales team, and they do that wrong all the time. Are there any top 3, top 5 that you have on top of your mind?
I don't know if this was a setup or not, but I mean, as far as As far as what we do, I think I've mentioned a couple of times in our conversation today is to find a repeatable process, a successful repeatable process, right? I think too much day and age right now, there's too much random acts of selling, right? Where we think we're doing it right. In essence, we might be doing it completely wrong, but we can go back to our management and say, no, but look I'm so busy, I'm so productive. Well, being productive on the wrong thing is still wrong, right? You can get distracted. So what I always recommend for anybody, again, sales automation software is out there for a reason, right? Is to make sure there is a repeatable process to control that chaos. Day in a life of rep, that's no matter who you are in that revenue funnel, right? Whether you're BDR, an AE, or a CSM or CXM of some sort, is being able to know what you did last, where what the conversation is now, and what you need to do next, and not have to think about it too hard. Where a brand new AE comes in and you can just say, go. That's what we're looking for, right? If we come in, a brand new AE or brand new BDR comes in, and you're like, hey, here's the CRM, go, hey, go hit your quota. That we need to find repeatable processes of when you start your today, you need to start here every single day. And I don't want to call it necessarily like sales on rails. That's not what I'm trying to say, right? What I'm trying to say is that you should always be one step or one click away from doing the next best thing to make you very effective. If your next thing or your thing you're doing now is not the most effective thing you should be doing, then you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be distracted, because management, you and I, and, our executives that, we report to, they want to know exactly what's working, what's not working. And if the data is not there to tell you what's working, then we got to go back to the drawing board, right? So the top 5 things for me is just have a repeatable process, right? Know exactly when you start your today, you shouldn't have to think. You should be like, okay, this is the most effective thing I need to do right now. And that's going to bring full visibility into what my day and my management should see. So you got to be productive. You got to be effective and be able to prioritize your day and bring it full circle with visibility, right? With that data behind the scenes. And it's just a full circle, because that puts you into the repeatable process that should be successful, right? Yeah. Should be able to see, in your blind spots.
Going down to the email as a channel, or let's say appointment setting by email, are there any top 3 mistakes that usually those junior sales execs do? I mean, you've mentioned that don't write a novel, right? Like write a short email, right? Usually people try, and then don't sell from the first email, right? Like be honest, right? So these are top 2. Are there any other that you've noticed that are sort of like patterns that very often they do, and you speak about this on the training sessions?
Yeah, and this sounds bad. Just make sure things are spelt right. I know that I don't know. That's just me. Where again, when you're in a BDR, SDR spot, even an AE spot for that matter, a lot of times these are templated emails, right? So you don't necessarily have to think about if the punctuation is correct or not, but if you're going to one-off it and you're going to go not necessarily rogue, but you have the autonomy to do that, just make sure before you hit send, right? Let's make sure that things are nice and tight and nice and, the way they should be structured. Like to your point where the formatting is wrong.
Yeah. Formatting.
If it's an eyesore, and I know it sounds really bad because I'm sure that individual has the best intentions, but whoever's receiving that, again, the second impression or the first impression or the third, that just comes out really bad. So
any top 3 things that you've seen or like the overperforming one? So if you look at the BDRs or AEs, and again in general, top 3, or maybe going down to the email that you've noticed that they did the best, let me give that an example. Let's say they include a great case study in their follow-up. So if you include the case study, this is like best practice. So do you have any best practices that comes to your mind right now that you really wanted to share because that caught your eye, sometime?
For sure. I think this goes back to our earlier conversation of how I want to be sold to, because everyone's a little bit different, right? But if you are selling to sales reps, or you're selling to, IT or InfoSec or FinServe, whatever the case is, right? Like people want to be sold differently.
Right.
But I think you need to approach the very first conversation of really who you are. Like I'm legitimately putting you into, a cadence sequence play, whatever you want to call it, right? And I'm going to be reaching out to you for a certain amount of period of time. So that way, no matter who you are, what the case is, if you follow up tomorrow, oh yeah, Scott told me he was going to follow up with me. So no, again, whatever that cadence or sequence or play looks like, right? Even if it's a follow-up call, like do what you say you're going to do and have that work. So just tell them why you're reaching out to them in the first place, and don't try to sell them. Don't try to sell them all in that very first email or call, right? Like, again, you're always going into an interruption. Most of the time, the interruption doesn't have time to actually read, paragraphs. Make it super digestible, right? And my third is, like, again, the things that are the most successful for us is, hey, hit them hard, hit them fast for, about 6 to 7 days, right? 6 to 7 days.
Yeah.
And then, we call them breakup emails, right? Like, hey, we weren't able, start, whatever you want to call it. Maybe there's a swan song in that or something. I don't know, but.
Are there any makeup emails or something like
not
breakup, but makeup emails?
Yeah. So, but it goes back to doing what you said that you were going to do. So whether it's like, hey, this is who I am, congrats, I put you into my play, right? To the very end is where, look, sorry, we couldn't make this work this time around, but guess what? I'm going to follow up 3 weeks from now, and then make sure that follow-up links to whatever you said, right? So that's the idea, is make sure it's not a random act of selling, right? Make sure there's a distinct purpose of why you're reaching out to them, and everything links to one another, right?
Right. So I know we have a few more minutes for this. I wanted to spend the remaining time talking about XANT and about you guys. So for everyone who's listening to this, who are in executive roles and are looking for an engagement platform, right? So what kind of companies do you typically work with? And if you can kind of pitch the value proposition for your platform, not from the sales standpoint, but generally speaking, like what pains do you guys address with your platform, and where people can reach out to you, that would be perfect.
That's a great question. This is my elevator pitch here, and hopefully I get a good score, if you get grade on this, if you will. But yeah, we're an automated platform, a sales automation platform. Now, sales engagement. There's so many different words for that, right? But where we sit is in between that marketing, top of the funnel, and then really all the way through the funnel to the retention of the deal. Now, what I mean by that is that, again, why people have some sort of sales engagement platform is because they want to fix productivity. They want to be able to just say, hey, go. And whether it be emails or calls or text messages, whatever the case is, that's really good. But then our point of view from XANT is productivity is awesome, but if you can't keep it effective and prioritize your day, then you're missing something. And if you can't gain full visibility back into your CRM, right, which is Salesforce, and what we work in 100% with Salesforce and 100% with Microsoft Dynamics customers, right, is if I click this button and it doesn't sync back to that field in that object within the CRM, then that data is not now telling a story. So what XANT is that we want to affect all your productivity, just, again, make them very productive, but more than that, we want to make them very effective. We want all of our customers to be one click away from doing the next best thing. And that's by prioritizing, that's, by stack ranking and sorting how a rep's day is supposed to be. Our big claim to fame is automating the process behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So the rep doesn't have to go find it manually. So for example, if a hand raiser comes through some sort of web page and they said, hey, I want to know about A, B, and C, my name is so-and-so. The average response time of those still in 2020, which is really bad, is 35 hours, right? Someone raised their hand saying, hey, I want to talk to somebody. And then 35 hours later, I'm like, hey, you just called 35 hours later, right? No, the idea is that we want to automate that process. So any type of marketing leads that match, hey, someone just clicked on my email, open this 5 times. I want to automatically automate that and put it into a new play and put it right in front of my rep without my rep having to go find it, right? So we're calling things right away. We're touching bases with those things right away to really control those chaos. We call them robots, but they're just automation rules behind the scenes. And so we're bringing it full circle into the whole automation, which brings you full visibility into this is actually what's happening, not what I hope is happening. Because it's hard. Here's the thing. I always like to take the stance of, if you expect something, we need to be able to inspect it, right? And so if you can't inspect that, what you're expecting, you're not going to be able to have any type of plan moving forward. So where XANT comes into play, where playbooks comes into play, is the ability to make a BDR, an AE, or a CSM very productive, very effective, and very, bring full visibility back into your systems there. So the whole revenue funnel, not just SDRs. Again, that's cool, but what we work out of we work out of 5 objects. We work out of leads, contacts, opportunities, accounts, and cases. So again, the whole revenue funnel, we want to impact that.
Listen, Scott, it's been really great. I've appreciated taking the time and sharing all of your experience and those best practices that some of those, especially the one with fast attack and then wait and then attack again, definitely utilize internally. So I appreciate you taking the time.
And if you want more about that, go to XANT.ai, our website, and you can download, actually an ebook that will tell you all about those best practices and how to actually set up certain cadences. So we always want to give back to the people who are listening. And so all those best practices I just said is found in the ebook at our website. So go check out XANT.ai.
We're going to add a link to the description so people can see that under this video and on our website and go and check it out. All right, Scott, you have a good one now. Thanks for the time.
Michael, thanks so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.